David, what's up, brother? How we doing?
Hey, John. I appreciate your work.
Thank you, good man. I appreciate you giving me a call. How can I help?
So, yeah, my niece has been saying a lot of suicidal thoughts on her social media and talking to her closest cousins about it. Me and my wife are currently on military orders in Texas, and my niece lives in New Jersey. I just want to know, what can we do from here?
So when you say suicidal messages, what's she posting? What's she putting up?
So she has been posting. My wife found her account on TikTok, and she's been posting things about her past with her bad relationship with her father.
What do you mean by bad?
So she 2 years ago recently found out from her school that from her father's side, her father's younger brother was sexually assaulting her for a few years, and she recently came out and confessed that to a school counselor in 2 years ago. Since then, the father took the brother's side and pretty much is out of the picture of her life.
Is that brother in jail?
I think the case is pending. Yes.
Well, good. I hope he goes to prison. All right. So, and so now she's living in the aftermath. What was Dad's response afterwards? What was Mom's response afterwards? Her parents.
So her dad, too, when they found out, was he didn't believe her. The mom believed her and called the cops and they went to therapy and stuff like that. But the mom is not. I think her mom has some troubles too as well. Has a lot of mother issues and things like that.
So forget their moms and dads' personal issues. Yeah. How did they deal with this young lady? So Dad said, "I don't believe you, it didn't happen," until finally he came around and believed that it did.
No, he didn't really even believe that it did. He just kind of he's kind of one of those guys who are pretty much like into drugs and running around in the streets and things like that. He's never been involved.
He's a burnout.
In
Okay.
her life.
Yeah. Great father there. Okay, so you have this young lady. How old is she?
She's 13.
You have a 13-year-old on TikTok and social media. What is she saying?
So the latest thing I saw was her saying how sad she is, how her mother doesn't reach out to her, talk to her, how when she went to counseling with the state and all that they were just making her relive what happened. They didn't seem like they even cared about her. So it's discouraging her from trying to get help. And then the latest thing recently now is she's asking what are some painless ways that she can kill herself, I guess.
Yeah. Not I guess. When a 13-year-old's asking for painless ways, that's the definition of crying for help.
Yes, and that's what's really concerning me.
Yeah, you should be super concerned. When a dad doesn't believe his daughter, when a mom doesn't comfort her daughter, when the whatever mental health professional wasn't able to connect there, that's a recipe for disaster. And so what this young girl is doing is using the only tools 13-year-olds have these days, which is social media, right or wrong, and she is screaming out to the world, "Somebody help me." And so who have you called?
So my wife, her is related to her mother. She doesn't have a great relationship with her sister because her sister feels like my wife is always telling her how bickering at her or saying trying to control her or something. So
hold on. I don't care if. I don't care anything about anybody's relationships with anybody. What I'm asking you, brother, is who have you called?
So my wife called the only person that her sister listens to, and she sat down and talked with her sister, and she said she was going to get help with her. She said she was going to help her get a counseling and things like that, but the way her sister is, she's not one to really follow through with it, and that's where I feel really uneasy about it.
Okay, good.
So that she will, but she never follows through.
You know she won't, right? So Here's the famous saying, not by your hand, but in your lap. And this isn't something that you asked for, but you're a caring, compassionate guy. You clearly are about serving people beyond yourself. That's why you're in the service, why your wife in the service. You guys are givers and servers. And so I want to free you. I want to free every listener from any qualm, any I don't know what to do next. If you are walking down the street and you see a teenager crying out for help, if you have a third cousin second removed and their biological mom is in jail and their biological dad was mean one time at Christmas and y'all haven't talked for a few years, or in a messy situation like the one you're in, I don't care. I don't care. I don't care. All that nonsense peels away, brother, and you've got a 13-year-old girl yelling in the only way she knows how, saying, help me, please. Mom doesn't count. Mom doesn't work. She doesn't do anything. Mom is not helpful. She's not going to follow through. Daughter wouldn't be in this situation. Daughter wouldn't be crying out for help in these ways if mom was responding in the right way. You know what? That's not fair to even say. I'm not going to say that. That's not fair. That happens. If mom was present, there would be different responses going on here. Okay?
I understand.
So here's the deal. You call 911. You call local school. You call the local child protective services. You call everybody you can get their number.
Yes.
Okay? And I don't care about the relationship violation. I don't care if your wife's sister is going to be mad. I don't care. There's a 13-year-old good girl saying, help me, please.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Now, I want to tell you this one story, okay? I worked in crisis for years. This is what I did. I showed up to suicide scenes. I showed up to shootings and car wrecks, and I showed up to all kinds of different situations. And I also worked with young people and college students for years and years. And I remember a situation where a couple of people all at the same time told me they were worried about a college student. And I couldn't get a hold of them until finally the young person texted me and said, I want you to know that you've been awesome, and something along the lines of, I'll see you on the other side, or take care. Something that made me, it wasn't a direct suicide threat, but it made me uncomfortable. So I did something weird that I don't normally do. I got in my car and just drove to their house. This is an adult student. The student was 25 or so. It was an adult student. I drove to their house, knocked on the door, and their roommate was inside. The roommate said, oh, they're just sleeping. And I said, I want to see them with my own eyes. So we went in their room. They were asleep. The room looked real not good, man. There was nothing on the walls. There was a couple of trash sacks. It was just a mattress on the floor. There was a bottle of pills by the bed. And there was a gun in the room. And I knew the room didn't look good. And I leaned down to talk to the student. They were snoring in a really deep way. And I leaned really close. And I yelled as loud as I could, nothing. Yelled again, nothing. And I just said, man, like they're clearly asleep right now. There's the bottle's still full of pills. You know, they're in Texas. They're allowed to have guns, right? I mean, the math I was running through my head for some strange reason, and I've done this over and over and over again. I couldn't make this one add up, so I called a friend of mine. And you can talk about providential. I called my friend, who was another crisis responder, and she happened to be at lunch with the number one college crisis counselor on the planet, Brian Van Brunt. They're having lunch together, and I'm walking her through. Here's what I'm looking at. And Brian yells at the table. I heard him through the phone. What are you doing? Call 911. And I went, oh my gosh, call 911. And I had gotten so deep into the relationship part. The roommate was saying, no, man, he just sleeps really heavy, man. He snores like crazy all the time. He's fine. He's just sleeping. Turns out he was in the middle of a suicide attempt. Turns out he had been crying out for help. And I was somebody who does this for a living, and I was sitting right there, and I let all the other variables cloud the one central judgment, which was, I need to get this kid some help right now. And so I want to tell you that to tell you this. I'm not judging you. I'm not blaming you. I'm not mad at you. But at the end of this phone call, somebody from my team is going to make a call because that's what we do.
Yeah.
At the end of this phone call, you need to get with your wife and y'all rally up. And before this day's over, probably before you have lunch, you got to start making some calls to make sure this young girl's got some adults in her area looking after her, because the adults who've been assigned to her by God aren't showing up. And I want you to know, I know that there's a lot of relationship dynamics. I know there's a lot of thises and that's. And so I want to help you the same way Brian and my friend helped me cut through all that stuff. You got a 13-year-old girl saying, please help me. And you need to get on the phone and make those calls. Okay?
Sounds good, yeah.
Is that fair?
I understand completely, yes.
And listen, David, I want to commend you for being an uncle that cares. I want to commend you for being a person who loves his wife and who sees something that's not right and says, I've got to get involved no matter what. I've got to get involved no matter what. I just don't know the right thing to do. Everybody listening to this, here's the right way to do it. You run out in the street with a pot and a pan, and you start banging them together saying, hey, listen, somebody needs help. That's what you do. And I hear people ask, like, well, what's my legal responsibility? What's my obligation? Here's the deal. When we start letting the state or we start letting the federal government define our baseline for how we're going to treat one another, we're in a bad mess. Churches, schools, workplaces, friends, when our first thought is, well, what do I have to do to care for somebody? God help us, man. God help us. Get involved, especially when it's a child. Especially when it's a child who suffered sexual abuse at the hands of her brother. Her dad turned his back on her, and mom's not showing up. Get involved. Brother David, I'm grateful for you, man. I'm grateful for everybody out there. There are people out there right now who have been thinking for a while, should I make that call? I don't want to get involved. I would much rather make a call, and have someone be like, dude, what's the matter with you? I'm fine. I'd much rather that call than the one that you don't make, and then you find out, hey, I hate to break it to you, but so-and-so took their life. So-and-so's in an institution now. Make the call.